Hi everyone, Gerard Scarpese here, Crafts hairdresser and co-founder of the Hairbrain community. I'm back on the West Coast today, flew all the way across the country to hang out with my man Shay Dempsey. You guys, it's a very unique opportunity to get up close and personal with such a genius in hair, has had such an interesting career, created so many legendary looks for Sebastian, which are known for their legendary looks. We're going to get up close and personal with him today in his salon here in Los Angeles, in the very Tony area, right outside of Beverly Hills. He's got a beautiful haircut technique he's going to share with you. We're going to meet his model, Connie, in just a minute, but let's get into the technique, guys. Remember, we love questions. We want your questions. We want to hear where you're watching from. Shay would love your support. So Shay, let us know what you have planned.
Okay, hi everybody. So basically this is Connie, beautiful girl. She's actually a client of the salon, which even makes it cooler, you know, and she was up for a little bit of a change. As you can see, we're taking off quite a lot of hair. But really what we're trying to do here is, you know, sort of talk to you about like why I do certain things, like what is the process, why do I use the blade, you know, what is it something that I'm trying to create. And with Connie's amazing hair, the blade is just one of those tools that just sort of makes the hair exactly the way we want it. It still keeps it soft, it still keeps it filtered. And you know, I'm the type of guy that I don't just use a blade all the time. I use a scissor in the salon. I just really use what I feel is going to be the best product or the best tool to get my final result. So as you can see, it's not something that's like super structured, as in a perfect straight line. We still want to have a shattered look. She wants to have hair that's going to move. She wants to have hair that looks a little rock and roll. She's a musician. So all those type of things I have to take into consideration.
So we've got a lot of love coming in from a lot of our friends. We've got Milo Maximovich always joining us. Thank you for your great contributions. My good buddy Jeremy Hickson is here. We've got shout outs coming from Missy Rizzo in Saratoga, Nanette Thompson in West Virginia. We've got all the way in South Africa. So
Nice.
we've got the global audience.
Nice.
Guys, we always love to hear where you're watching from. Let us know how far away you are. South Africa is pretty far from Los Angeles, but there was a great comment coming in. It's Terry Scott in South Africa, and he loves cutting with his razor.
Right.
Now, I know you already talked a little bit about razor versus scissor, and for those out there who still maybe have trouble determining which one they should use, is it purely an artistic choice for you, or does the hair texture factor into it? So scissor versus razor, what Shay Dempsey think about that?
I think for me, honestly, it's all about really what's in front of me. And you know, when you have bleached hair, obviously you have to be very careful about what you're doing. But if I have the right hair at the right time, the right texture, I will use the blade to sort of get to me where I want to go. So if that's taking the weight out, see like down on the baseline here, I'm just sort of gently just caressing the hair to take a little bit of weight out, but also put in a soft line. So like that's just simply just taking the hair and just softly using the blade to sort of shatter those ends, but I'm still creating a little bit of a line there.
Now, I noticed that you're just kind of like pinching the hair. You comb it through, but rather than traditionally holding it between the point of it. What's the benefit of the pinching? So
the pinching just gets me with control so that I can pinch and cut. So it just grabs the hair together so I get a more even type of a cut to the ends. So like you can see when I finish here, wait till I just take this away. So you'll still see that the hair still looks cut.
This is a big part of razor cutting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Looking at the negative. Yeah, the negative space.
Because a lot of the time when you don't see that, and say the stroke was, I can do it here, elongate the stroke, so if you're going to do this,
it's completely different.
It's a totally different thing.
Show that to the camera, how different it looks.
So you've got all these different strands. So like if you wanted to sort of practice and you want to take something off, the stroke being elongated like something like this is a totally different animal to what we're trying to create here.
Right. So a great learning point there is, you know, looking at the hair that you've cut off with the razor will tell you a lot about the effect. So how important is the razor to the kind of history of the Sebastian look? You know, there's this certain look that has been around for, I know the brand's now close to 40 years old.
Yeah, it's 40 years old.
How instrumental has razor cutting been in that? Is it something that was always a big part of Sebastian?
Yeah, I think it's an iconic part of what we do. I think, you know, if we look back at everything that we've done, like pushing boundaries of where it was with haircuts, and the blade was one of those things that was like, when we started to use the blade, we found that we could still create salon wear, or we could create creative styles by using the blade, because the blade does two things. It takes away length, but it also takes away weight. And we were very visual hairdressers at the time, so we could see that, like, oh, this tool could really be beneficial to sort of push the boundaries when it came to cutting hair.
And there's a certain, again, I was looking through one of your latest collection releases here.
Yeah.
I know you guys do these like seasonally, and one of the first things that I read here, I think it's a quote from you, your education credo. We don't teach, we provoke and push the imagination further.
Exactly.
Which I thought was brilliant. And when I think of the razor, it is such a provocative tool.
Yeah.
It can be used in many ways, but it definitely provokes some type of emotion.
Yeah, and I think, you know what it is? I think for a hairdresser, and also even for a client, at some stages we've been sort of given the bad press about the blade, and it's more about, like, you know, not knowing how to use the blade. I'm sure you use the blade yourself, that it's like something that you have to really practice at home, build confidence in, actually sort of work your hands using the blade in a different way. Am I taking weight away? Or, you know, am I going to use it to open up spaces? Like, am I going to open up spaces like this to create open, less weight, more volume? You know, it can be used in so many different ways, but it really needs to be worked on.
I love how close you're working to the hair, because it is such a subtle tool and you really have to see the effect. So do you recommend that people sit in a stool and get this close to their work when they're working like this?
Well, for me, you know what, I'm taking off so much, and as you can see, I still want to have a shattered baseline, and I'm still very conscious about how much I'm taking off. So for me now, once that baseline is in, you can see that I have the baseline, so I can actually see where I am. So I just sit down on that, and then my stroke is very, very short. So I can just go short tap, tap, tap it, and tap it onto the line. So I'm sort of slightly graduating the hair at the same time, if you know what I mean.
Awesome, Shay. The international audience is really chiming in here. We've got Ulrika from Sweden saying hi.
Hi, Ulrika.
We've got Lila coming in from Canada. We've got from Ohio, Lorraine is watching.
Yeah.
And in the UK, Bernadette. We've got Elani from Greece. We've got, as far away as Russia, Alex Bermistrov watching from Russia.
Nice.
We did have a question from one of our regular watchers, Kiran Mark. Do you prefer to use a guarded razor over the non-guarded razor? And again, that's another big topic of conversation.
Yeah. So this is the best way of showing you, is that, like, say for the ends of the hair, like right here, I can take my hand and place that blade on like that. Now, I'm doing that, I'm tapping it. So for me, it's much easier for me to do that with a guarded blade. I'm just scared of the other blade, that I might cut my finger, and we could have real problems. But the fact that you can use the blade in so many different ways, it makes life a little bit safer, especially for different techniques like splicing and things like that. Or if you want to open up spaces like this, like pen cutting on those ends. Now that's tipping off my finger, but it's just shattering out those ends. Now I don't think I could do that with a regular open blade, so I'm just sort of tapping it, just shattering the line, so I can create this nice soft, because she's got amazing hair, as you can see. It's really strong hair, you know.
I feel that, you know, with what you're doing, the way that you're sitting, the way you're working with the blade, you're so engaged with the hair.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, just like I'm cutting hair off. It's like you're involved with almost every strand of the hair.
Yeah, and I feel, that's what I really love about sort of, some people don't like to be on a stool. Some people like to stand up. But when I'm taking off length like this, I really want to sort of be in that sort of creative process of being sort of right on of what I want to do, because now I'm starting to see layers that are here. So I want to be able to sort of be close enough to see what's popping up and what's arriving as I go along. Because, as you know, cutting hair there's reference points. There's everything about cutting hair, but really at the time you work with exactly what's in the chair. You don't work with, okay, this is what I'm going to do. You work with the head that's in front of you. Well, that's what I do.
Plans were made to be broken when it comes to great hairdressing, right?
Exactly. And I mean, once you have the basic fundamentals and you're really good and you've got executed those down pat and you practice those out, why not then be creative? That's why we went into this business. That's why we love this business, is that we can be creative. So I'm very much like I'm in on it. I'm in it. Like, I'm in it here, just sort of looking at everything, looking at this length coming up, and like, this is a huge change for somebody, you know. I mean, this is not your normal trim. This is intense stuff. So I want to give it.
The makeover doesn't have to be to a pixie. I mean, we've cut off 10 inches of hair.
We have.
So it's a big makeover for Connie.
It is.
We'll get to see Connie's reaction shortly after we get through the back. If you're just joining us, guys, I want to give you some information. We're here in Los Angeles with Shay Dempsey. He's creative director with Sebastian Global, and that means a lot because this is a brand that is renowned for creativity and for provoking hairdressers and creating products over the past 40 years that have really kind of changed our industry, and they continue to do that. Shay's the main creative vision behind a lot of that. So we're getting up close and personal with him in his salon. He's chosen to work in a kind of a consumer-friendly way, which takes a lot of creativity to kind of create something new but be consumer-friendly. Working with the blade. We welcome all your questions. I have one already for you here. Quite a few people were working, asking if you like to use product in the hair when you raise your cut. Do you have anything in there?
Yeah, I do. I mean, for me, when you work with, you know, cutting from almost wet to dry or damp to dry, you need a tool in there that's going to help you. And whether that's going to be to help you keep your sections clean, or help to start to dry in to give texture, or to change the fabric of the hair. Something like that is really important. So I actually put some texture maker in at the root area through here. And again,
just let the audience see what you're using there. Texture maker at the root.
Yeah. And again, what that's going to do is it's just going to give me a little bit more grip. It's going to give me a little bit more control. And then I think if you're always going to use the blade, I think it's really, really important to use something like dark oil.
So this is, I know something that you guys came out with a few years ago is pretty revolutionary, and it's a big part of the brand. And I heard there's some thoughts or some plans to expand dark oil. Is that top secret? Or?
No. I mean, to be totally honest, I mean, it became like our hero product for hairdressers super quick. And to be honest, you know, as an oil goes, it's something that stays light and weightless, and hairdressers really loved the fact that it was sort of able to blow dry and still keep volume. So, you know, when you've got something good, why not sort of treat it and celebrate it? So we've basically sort of, now we'll be launching in September a shampoo, a conditioner, a treatment, and then a day after spritz that you would sort of spray into the hair that has those filaments of the product in there, so that it can actually sort of keep that shine and that weightless look to the hair.
Okay, so it looks like you're going back through now. You've resectioned back into the nape.
So now I've taken everything back down. You can see the length that we've taken off, and this is something that I don't know whether you've probably heard of this before, but it's something that I really like to do. It's super quick. You're going to see it happen super fast. And it's something that sort of like, say, for salon use and salon wear, it's great. And I call it wrap cutting. So basically, you have a central section down the back, and you take the hair and you start to wrap it around. And you're basically using, and you say to yourself, well, why am I wrap cutting the hair? What I want to do is I want to leave as much length in the front section. So what I'm taking is I'm taking this hair, I'm keeping it nice and flat, and my reference point is the central section and the nape. So from the nape, I start to take my blade and I start to skim on the top layer. So I'm going from shorter to longer. So this is reducing the weight and the length at the same time, and I'm just going across.
So majorly over-directing it or wrapping it to the opposite side. Using the garden razor kind of flat on the surface.
Really flat.
You're cutting more at the top and less at the bottom. So you're keeping weight in the outline in the corner.
Exactly.
Really kind of tapering the inside.
And now look at the elevation goes super low, and then we come down through here.
Awesome.
Keep it really super low. This lives on its own. So here's our corner back as our reference. So we start on the top, and we start to take off the top. So now you can see our baseline is there, so we can just go to the baseline. And you go to there. Okay. Now the next section, and this is if you want to get, creative, which I'm going to do, is that the central section is your guide for the next section. So here's our next section right here. So I'm going to spin around onto the other side, Keep everything controlled. Keep it nice and controlled, and we're going back down. Remember, 0 elevation.
So these are like panels or ribbons. Does
Panels.
it matter how thick they are as you go up the head?
Depending on the
Yep.
texture of the hair.
Yep.
It just really depends on the texture of the hair. I then start to come back down to that corner point. Here's our length. Bring it together. Now, I want to start more in the central section, so I start here. And I really start to take some strong, shorter pieces.
So this, would you say this, you went in stronger than the first panel?
So the first panel starts at the corner
Yeah.
back. This one starts in the center. So we're creating short, long,
Right.
short, long.
Right.
So you're really creating different pockets of length. And you say to yourself, well, how am I going to find the next section? So remember, this sits on its own. This lives on its own. I have it here, right in my hand. I just spin around to this side. And I start to come nice and flat again. I'm keeping nice control of the hair. You can see I'm keeping everything controlled back down. I can start from here and I can start to go and take a lot of weight out of there. So it's really working like shorter, longer, shorter, longer. So lots of different type of panels of short and long. So you create really cool little textures.
I mean, I think haircutting has really evolved to this where everything, whether it's a scissor or a clipper or a shear or whatever, it's about being invisible.
Yeah.
Like even fades now
Yep.
are more invisible than they were 10 years ago.
Yep.
The most barbed kind of fade, when you looked at it 10 years ago, you could see a lot more happening.
Yep.
Where now it's all about, and I think just with design in general, if you
Yep.
look at an iPhone 10 years ago versus an iPhone now, it's all about, and that's what's, to me, what's happening here. You won't be able to identify the layers.
No.
Like,
No.
oh, there's the shortest layer,
Nope.
there's the longest layer.
Nope.
Yeah.
So the same here. The only thing what I would suggest is when you're doing it though, is that you still keep an eye on your reference points. Like, I mean, that is something that Sebastian are super clear about, is that if I talk about the corner back, I still have a reference of where I'm going to cut that. I don't want to just get carried away and go crazy. So I've got that corner back again. So this is the longer section. So now I can just go in on the top of the longer section, you can see, and then I just start to take that away. I can see my baseline. So I'm just going down to that baseline there.
In a lot of ways, I want to talk about the reference points more, but in a lot of ways, guys, you know me, I'm the biggest hair nerd, so I'm learning it. I'm a huge razor lover,
Yeah.
but I've never really spent a lot of time using a guarded razor. I spent almost 18 years always with an unguarded blades, but lately I've been playing with it more, so I was super excited for today.
Yeah.
But it feels like to me, like you're treating that like fabric.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're truly like thinking, okay, I'm making the fabric a little bit thinner here and a little bit thicker here.
There,
Yep.
exactly. And
As opposed to just angles and lines.
Exactly, and you know what, it really does come down to also the texture of the hair. So like once I'm here in this corner back, like before, I can remember, I just keep this pointed towards her ear. That's my reference point.
So yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Reference points, is that from the client's body?
Yeah.
So you're using a landmark on the body.
So from the top of the ear, I know if I angle my blade, that's the corner back of her hairline. So I started on the other side. So now it's just a case of going from here, elongating the stroke on the top, and then you just start to move that blade along. Here's my baseline as I come down. There's the baseline, I cut that, so I can just go to there. So what I'm doing is creating, as I said, these interesting pockets, but as you said, it's a little bit more invisible. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have chops. Yeah. You're going to have something that's sort of be slightly more grown out, something that's a little bit more real. And let's face it, people are wearing that type of hair right now. It's more like, not that they cut it themselves, but they have hair that's more grown in, it's more lived in. So
absolutely, and we saw that in color too. People
absolutely.
went from 5,000 little foil packets to painting. So
exactly.
The evolution of things being a bit more organic, and we're seeing that in old design. All right, a couple questions that came in here. So first we had Siobhan, who I'm assuming is from Ireland, asking what part of Ireland you're from.
I'm from Dublin in Ireland. So I've lived there. I'm just here 7 years now. So and I go back every year for sure. I have to get my Irish fix.
And what was your background as a hairdresser in Dublin? How did you get started?
I worked for a man called Kieran Nevin, who was ex-Sassoon, and David Marshall. They all worked together in the Sassoon Academy, and then they worked in the actual salon itself in South Moulton Street. They trained there, and he was my mentor. He was my coach. He sort of trained me. But the person who got me into this was Norman Jacob, my cousin from Maidstone in Kent. He was a hairdresser, and he used to come and cut my mum's hair in the kitchen. And I thought he was a really cool guy. He had a diamond in his tooth and yellow highlights, and at the time that was the business. I was like, I want a bit of that. So yeah, he really sort of was my inspiration. And I came back to Dublin. I worked in Dublin as well. We had a salon in Dublin. So I love, as I said, getting my Irish fix for sure.
The one name that I always hear when I hear of Irish hairdressers is Peter Marks.
Yes,
it's
yes.
kind of like the legendary, yeah.
Absolutely. You know, I never trained with them, but my God, do I admire them. They're the biggest salon owners in Europe. 35 salons. It's just incredible. So
it's important for hairdressers out there watching to learn what's happening around the world, because there's so many great salons and brands that the more that you know, the more you can bring back to your salon.
Yeah, and
that's a legendary, successful business.
Oh my goodness, incredible, incredible. So you can see here, this is the last sort of section around the sort of the crown or the top of the head. So I do want to go a little bit shorter here. So I'm just going to start a little bit higher, and I'm just going to come over the top. So I'm going to make it even stronger through there, shorter to longer, really extending and elongating that stroke right to the very end. So it's like that. Same thing on this side. If I just take it from the back of the ear, you can see that section. That's cut. And I'm just going to bring this one and crisscross it right around. So basically wrap cutting the hair, just to go over why we wrap cut the hair, is that we want to extend as much length in the front as we can. So you can see this is here. Even if you wanted to take a section there, look, you can use that as your guide. If you want to get really perfect with it, there's the guide right there. Start from that and then just work down. And hopefully you can see a little bit more action starting to happen, a little bit more sort of weight after being taken out. So now we're starting to get something that's got a little bit more movement, because she has got amazing hair, you know?
Yeah, you've totally transformed it in just a few minutes that you've been doing that wrap cutting. I'm just going to do a little catch up because I know a lot of people are just joining us. Hey guys, Gerard Scarpese here, hosting another great HB Live back on the West Coast. If you were watching the past few days, we were in New York. Came out here specifically to spend some time with Shay Dempsey, legendary hairdresser in the industry. Has been instrumental with Sebastian for a long time. How many years are we talking about?
Almost 12 years, 13 years.
12 years,
so there,
to kind of helm up the creative direction there. Let's get Connie turned around. I think Randy wants to see your model here. Randy's behind the camera today. This is Shay's model, Connie. And Connie, what do you do for a living?
I'm a professional jazz pianist.
Jazz, so you can have a little bit more creative looks with your hair. Do you feel that kind of more flexibility?
I'm actually super happy to be here because his edgy style and provocative vibe is totally me and what I try to put forth in my own art. So super happy to be here.
Awesome. Now Shay, besides have his job with Sebastian, has opened a salon here in Los Angeles. Beautiful salon. Maybe Randy, you can do a quick look around. We have some of his staff here. Say hi guys, they're watching and helping out, but just look at this incredible space. I'm sure if any of you are ever in Los Angeles and you want a tour, you can come visit. Yep, and beautiful, beautiful space. So let's get back to the haircut here. It looks like you're moving into the sides.
Yeah, so what I've done is just to highlight exactly while you were talking there was two panels, and just in front of the ear, I took these panels like this, and again, I just brought them right around. So if I can just turn this way, what I did was this panel that's here, I wrapped it right around the head, like we call it wrap cutting, and you can actually see I went from here, shorter to longer. So see the layers, shorter to longer.
So if I was going to put this in real technical, geeky terms, it's like they're little panels of majorly over-directed concaves.
Absolutely.
Right, so like each one of these panels is like really over-directed, cut short to long, swinging or wrapping around.
So the same thing, when you come around here on this panel, it's the same thing. You can come back down here and you can see where I went, and I'll just do it again a little, shorter to longer. Now if I bring Connie and bring her around to you, you'll see exactly what that achieves. So what it does is, it actually leaves me a lot more length in the front that's sort of slightly disconnected, and we get this type of shape here, instead of her, when she came in, having all the length in the back and having it shorter, framing the face. So it's a real reverse sort of haircut to what she had when she came in. So now I just really have to take the sides And you know, in its natural fall, I'm just going to take it down here and just blend it in a little. So I'm just going to turn.
So you layer it first and then treat the outline.
Yeah, I mean the baseline I took up a little bit at the bottom because I needed to see where I was going to wrap cut to. But like something like this here, I still want to leave it sort of long, so I'm just going to just pen cut that away. And I'm going to soften that line out. I don't want anything strong. So I just want to soften everything out just a little bit.
So you literally call that pen cutting? Because
Yeah.
you hold it like, show the camera how you're holding the razor.
So basically I take it like this and then I just use it like a pen. So like if we can, there's lots of different ways of using the pen cutting technique. But say I want to now open up a little bit of space there, you can use it like a pen and you can just go in and open up one and then the opposite direction, open it up that way. Or if you just want to soften out the line down the bottom, you can just take it and you can just tap, tap, tap it.
Now, the razor that you're using, it's the feather styling razor.
Yep.
Do you ever put your finger in the hole?
No.
No, yeah. That's, I had a feeling you were going to say that because it just really limits your mobility, right?
Yeah, and everybody asks me as well, if you look at when I skim the hair, so how can I show you? When I skim the hair, if I take a little piece of hair like that, look how far my hands are up on top of the blade. So I'm just using a small amount, so my fingers are not even down here. I find that whatever I do, I want to be in as much control as possible. So by bringing the hair together and then using my thumb, I feel I can get a better stroke on the hair. Because I don't want the blade to be in this way, I want the blade to be this way, so I'm not tearing the hair in any way. I'm getting a nice sort of individual sort of softness to the hair.
Beautiful, just developing beautifully. And there was a great comment here that I really can feel where she's coming from. Alyssa Laramendi said, finally learning something new. You know, I mean, we see lots of great stuff, but it's you know, to be a little bit provocative and do something different here, I'm really appreciating it.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think as well is that, you know, with the blade, it's something that the more you challenge yourself with or the more you sort of work with it, the better you get. There's a fantastic feeling of like control when you get it right. Because at the start, I remember when I started to use the blade, it felt really uncomfortable. I just didn't feel comfortable with it. But once you start to actually work with the blade, it just becomes part of your hand.
It's really an extension of your hands.
It really is, you know. And
an extension of your emotions too, because it's such a poetic way of cutting hair.
Exactly.
I love it. Our buddy Travis Smith, who is expanding a lot into razor cutting, a good friend of Hairbrain, Travis Smith. Used to be a Sassoon educator, and the day he left, kind of like me, the day I left Sassoon, I started razor cutting. It was one of these things that I wanted to do so bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I felt really comfortable with the shear and the scissor.
Yeah.
And he's doing some great work, and he's loving it. Travis Smith, thanks for watching.
So again, we're just really sort of finding the shape here, finding the length, looking at the layers. And you know what? I'm going to just leave it for the time being of where we are because I'm actually sort of really liking the shape.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Let's get a 360 at this point
down.
of this. Connie just had long, one-length heavy hair, and now she's got beautiful, soft lines and those hidden, invisible layers. I'm thinking it's looking amazing.
Yeah.
So all we have left is the top.
Yeah.
So what's the plan up here? Maestro?
So again, I know we're using the blade, but I really like to sort of get everything away so that like it's almost like when you say I sit on the stool to sort of get concentrated. I feel if I've got anything around me, I just like to get everything clean and just take it all away. So now I can drop down this section here in the front. And Connie had a fringe, but she had sort of a smallish fringe. So what we want to try and do is we want to introduce something a little bit stronger. So I am going to take this large C-section. Can you see that? Like it's a pretty big section. Like, you know, when you think about fringes, there's probably only about half this size. But I want to create something that's a little bit stronger. So if I take a section like so, now you can see where I am here. So there's quite a lot of hair there for that to come off, okay? So I'm going to introduce that. So again, like the bottom, I'm going to start on the baseline. So I'm going to subdivide, and by subdividing it, it keeps everything in control. So you know, you're not panicking about, oh God, is there too much hair in that? You just subdivide to whatever section or and length you want. So I'm just going to keep this a little clean.
As you section that off, can you talk a little bit about changing blades? Lots of people wonder. Chloe brought it up. Chloe Rimmer is wondering if you change your blade after every haircut.
Yeah, I mean, I basically change the blade before a haircut, and then it goes in the trash after a haircut. And really, you know, anybody that sort of uses the blade a lot, you know, they will sort of, you know, be in agreement that sometimes, you know, there's nothing worse than the blade feeling sort of hard.
Well, that can be the most damaging thing for hair is a dull blade.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you can see what we're going to do here. We're going to bring this in. So a little bit like the baseline, if I just take a section like that and we just call this a pinch and cut. So the pinch and cut means that I can use the toe of the blade, like so, and look at the stroke is elongated a little bit more, okay? So we just take the stroke that way. Now take the next section, like so, and pinch and cut means you don't have to pinch it too hard. Now we can use the heel. So the heel is going the opposite way. Heel. So next section, through here, use the toe and really elongate that stroke so you're getting this really nice soft chewiness to the hair. We don't want any solid lines. We didn't do any solid lines anywhere, so why would we do it now? Do you ever combine? Would you ever say, I'm going to do the bang with a scissor and do it blunt? Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. There is no right and wrong. There is no right or wrong. But can I just say, because of this beautiful hair, you don't get exposed to hair that handles a blade so well that sometimes, like say here now, we can go in, and now that we've taken that weight out, well then it's easy for me just to go in and I can just open up that blade and I can just go in and just notch in some pieces like that. And for those that because there's still a lot of hairdressers that are very intimidated by the razor, do you feel that they can emulate this technique using the scissor? Absolutely. You can do this with a scissor. I mean, like say we wanted to just say this, we just wanted to take and bevel this off first, we can just over direct it forward, change the angle, and we can just go in and point cut. Nice and loose, drop it down, take some sections in our hands, just go in with that blade and just kind of slicing right in. Slice it and dice it. Fantastic. There have been quite a few questions about prepping the hair with product. I know we discussed it, but I'm just going to cover it again for you. So what Shay did today was he used the Sebastian texture maker at the roots, so they wouldn't be so soft. It would kind of, he could see the cut as it was working. And then he used Sebastian dark oil on the mids and ends to get some slip and some grip. And we learned some exciting news about Sebastian dark oil, one of the most popular products in the range, and kind of a new innovation came out maybe 3 or 4 years ago. This is expanding this whole range of dark oil. September you're going to have the full Monty will arrive. It's going to be great. It's such a great name, dark oil. I just love it. So you can start to see this fringe starting to come together again. So it's a little bit fuller and it's a little bit stronger and it's a little bit edgier, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create something that's salon friendly, but it's also fitting Connie's face. Like, I can't stress enough why it's a social platform like Hairbrained is so important to me as a hairdresser, for me to be able to look at other talent. But on the other side is that I want to be able to sort of see something that's relative, like now. I want to see something that's sort of new to what that hairdresser is sort of thinking about, or how they do things, what's their process. And I think with Hairbrained Live, it's a little bit more for the hairdresser as well. So whether you really like what I'm doing, or whether you think that's a little bit heavy, hopefully you'll be able to take something out of today and bring that back to the salon. That's what it's all about. It's more about sharing the skill set, or going, you know what, Shay was a bit crazy with that blade, but I want to try a little bit of that. I want to try and do a little bit more of that. And that's what's the great part about hairdressing. Well, thanks for touching on that, because Randy, who's behind the camera today, it's not that often that Randy and I are together. We're the co-founders of Hairbrained, and that was how Hairbrained was born. Exactly doing this. I was educating in an academy, and Randy was a member of the team, but he's also a photographer, videographer way back in 2005. And he started filming some of the demos.
and we put them out there, and we found other hairdressers. We found like our tribe of people that really wanted to be connected through their craft, and we call them craft hairdressers. And that's why we're so great to have you here sharing, and that's our whole ethos.
Exactly. And for me, you know, it's like when you can get a platform where your reach is much more than face-to-face, and I still love face-to-face when I teach with Sebastian or with the team here, but it's so great that, you know, you can have live questions coming at you, whether they're good or whether they're bad, or they, you know, that's life. You take it all, and you know, and that's the most important part, is that you're sharing, you know. So this is this last section on the top. So you'll see that I can see my baseline underneath, but I'm doing a little bit more work up here. So what I'm doing is, on the pinch and cut, is that I'm taking it a little bit higher, and I'm elevating it off the face a little bit more.
And you're coming on both sides. Like
I'm coming on both sides, creating in a little V shape.
I love that.
So why am I taking it out so high off the head like that, instead of the first one has 0 elevation? So what I want to do is create more of a roundness, like a bevel. So like if you were using the scissor, you'd be out off the head using the same technique. But by using the blade, by just taking this section and just coming out directly off the head, I can then go into that little V and keep beveling it, and hopefully when I'm finished this section, you will see that you have a little bit more. If you go more profile, you'll see that it rounds the head shape a little bit more. See the way it just bevels it off, instead of it being this super hard line.
You know what I always tell hairdressers when they want to start to learn how to raise hair is, if you understand the elevation over direction, you don't have to relearn that.
Nope.
You just have to now learn the actual dexterity of the blade, which is what you're sharing a lot of here.
Exactly. You know, and it's an amazing tool. And the feather blade, you can get this on your site.
Yeah, Hairbrain Pro.
Yeah, because I mean, for me, anybody that's sort of like in the business of looking for a blade, I would suggest that maybe, you know, start with a guarded blade and then progress onto an open blade if you want, or buy two.
I'm going the opposite way around. I've used unguarded razor now for 20 years, and I just started using a guarded blade because I feel there's certain things that you're doing here that work better with a guarded blade. And I talked about that earlier this week in our Facebook Live. If you go back 2 or 3 days, I did a Facebook Live where I used a guarded razor, which I'm not known for. And I was super excited to come here because I want to learn more about it.
Yeah. But I would think that the feather blade above any of the other blades, just from my personal point of view, is that
nothing compares to feather blades.
There's really not. And I mean,
they make 3 or 4 different types of blades, and there's nothing else. You know, people are always like in classes bringing some weird blade.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm always like, after 3 sections, it's like, get a feather blade. They own the razor blade business.
Or you know what's incredible is that, like, you give the feather blade to the person and say, hey, just try that for a second, and they have their other one, and they're like, oh, but why does it go through the hair so easy? And why is it so weighted, you know? So it's the weight of the blade itself. It's basically everything about that blade is fantastic.
So we did have
Is there a face bush in my drawer there, Abby? Would you mind just getting me a face bush?
Coming in, Shay, about how you maintain a haircut like this. So,
you
know, when I watch it was very technical and organized. So if she comes back in 6 or 8 weeks, can you basically follow the same pattern?
Well, let me show you. So, I mean, I think again, people think because it's all so freehand and it's all so sort of like, but it's organized. Actually not. It's pretty organized. Yeah. Thank you so much. Because what you've gotten is that if I take a section from here and I pull it out, like what we've got is from shorter to longer.
And then it'll be again and again and again. Yeah. It's a series of concaves.
It's a series of concaves working through the hair, going from shorter to longer with these open spaces. So if I was to really look at how am I going to do this again, it's a case of following the haircut from before, but not the line, following the concept, following the process, following what I did to get there. I don't think it's like going back in there and just following it like from scratch.
Yeah, I always answer that question with color.
Yeah.
Like if you colored someone's hair 6 weeks ago and they come back and say you want the same thing.
Yeah.
If you just run in the back and mix up the same formula and put it on, you're not really doing the job.
Yeah.
Because you have to look, it may have changed. You might need to adjust your formula.
Yeah.
The same with the haircut.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
So that's where the cookie cutter thing just doesn't work.
No.
Yeah.
So this is pen cutting, and again, this is just something that's really quick and really loose. And again, I talked about beveling this away. So I'm just beveling it so that it's nice and soft around her face. Again, with Connie's face shape, what I want to create is something that's really loose and nice and soft. So by just going in with the pen cutting technique, you'll see when I take out the hair, you're just taking out splices of hair which opens up that space. I don't see a solid line on Connie's face. I see much more unstructured lines which will be softening, and it'll be really great with her hair texture. So again, that's just moving the hair around a little bit more and keeping it long enough that it's sort of like, let's just have a little look at this now. You get this nice little chewiness and it opens it all up.
Fabulous.
And it's got that
Yeah,
cool
beautiful,
little look.
Connie.
You know,
Can't wait
so
to see it.
let me take the sides out a little and we can just see where we are here.
Because it's so seamless, it all just kind of melts together. You know?
Yeah, you know, and it's still got that sort of slightly rock and rolly feel, and you know, she's a fantastic pianist and she's out there. We still want her to be able to shake that head and move with the piano and move her body. So
That
I think,
head bang.
yeah, you know, it's something that's sort of like, it's still very commercial, but it's very her. The most important, it's her, and she feels good in it. This is salon wear, remember. This is not, you know, this is not even Sebastian. It's Sebastian technique driven, but it's Shea Dempsey creating a look for the client in the chair.
Which is what you do here.
It's what I do.
Salon.
It's what I do, and that's the most important part. So really, I'm nearly finished. So all I really want to do now is to look at it and see, is there a little bit of detail. I find it's a little heavy in these areas. So I'm just going to...
And was that just because it just kind of, where the top was short and then that you want some relationship between
Yeah,
the
I
two?
just want to relate a little bit more relationship of like maybe just taking that point off from there to there. So by taking it out like that, just directly out off the head, what I can do here is I can just skim that just a little.
So if someone wanted to train hands-on with you, are there opportunities for people to do that throughout the year, to do actual?
I mean, you know what's great about the salon is that we have classes once a month here, and we work together as a community, and I would love to see more people just come up, be part of it, work with us here on a Monday. You bring a doll head, because I'm afraid I'm a doll head type of guy. I really like
That's a great way to learn. We were just talking about that earlier.
I'm very much at that. Here's this corner again. So you can see this is called vertical skimming, so I'm just literally tapping away that corner. So what it's doing is it's just giving me a little bit more of a blend, that's all. But yeah, I would love to see some people just DM me and say, hey, I'd love to come up and do a class.
If someone wanted to DM you, where would they find you on Instagram?
It's Shea Dempsey 1.
Shea Dempsey 1 on Instagram.
Yeah, and if you wanted to come up, we do classes every Monday, and it's really sharing, or once a month on a Monday, it's just sharing ideas. I do usually a doll head, a haircut. We do sort of hands-on, where we'll all do one together. And it's fun.
Well, I might take you up on that.
Yeah, it's so great. But, you know, we've got great space. We can fill the place, you know? I mean, if, you know, at this stage in my career, I would love to be able to say, hey, just come along. There's no price, there's no cost. Just come and we'll share ideas and have a laugh.
Well, I might take you up on that.
That'd be great.
Make some stuff happen, because it's
for sure.
That's what I'm all about. I've really enjoyed this lesson. You've got a big fan out here. Marique Angelova says the model is very cute.
Hey, there you go. She is.
You guys can't tell from the back, but we will turn around so we can see. There you go. The beautiful Connie, musician, getting a makeover here. All right, so here's another technique. We haven't seen this yet.
Yeah, so again, I'm not blending it completely, so I'm just basically taking from the fringe to that. There is a disconnection, okay? There's the disconnection, but I do want to just blend that in a little bit. So by splicing the hair here, I'm just over-directing everything into the central section like this, and I'm just taking it just there and just tapping it off my thumb. So I just go in and I just tap. And all it's doing is just taking little filaments of hair. And you know what?
You know, it's interesting because I'd seen that done before, but I've seen it done like horizontally.
Yeah.
It's nice to see it more vertical. It seems...
So horizontally for me, and this is just a personal thing, so if I do it horizontally like this and I go in like that, it feels a little hard, and it feels like I'm tearing the hair a little. So what I do is I just use the toe and I just come in and I just tap it, and it's softer. Not that there's anything wrong with the horizontal,
Well, there's nothing wrong with anything if you and your client both
exactly.
are happy.
Exactly.
I remember being 16 years old, which is kind of when I started hairdressing and watching my first Trevor Sorby video way back when. And he made that statement, you know?
Yeah.
He said, nothing's wrong or right if it looks beautiful when you're done.
Yeah,
and your
absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm just done, really. All I do is over directing and just tapping this here just to make sure that everything's blended.
Now, what are your thoughts in terms of styling here? Is this something, how would you recommend she style at home? What products? Is it something she needs a brush to use?
Yeah, you know what? Because I've put the product in there as a foundation, really, I don't want to do too much because...
Yeah, it looks fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you can overcook it, you know, and sometimes you can start to overstyle.
Have you ever heard that saying that 10 minutes underdone is better, 10 minutes overdone is worse than 5 minutes underdone?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like, so let's just use our hands here and just see what we can do.
Looks fabulous.
Like, you know, I mean, really... You can just sort of let it do its own thing, which I love the fact that if this is a client situation and they're in the mirror and they're looking at something like this and you go, you know what, there you go. Thanks for coming out.
And you know, here's the last thing I want to say about this. This is all about cutting, and this is something that will help you raise your price point.
Yeah.
Because a lot of things can be done through styling, but then clients don't really value that. They're, you know, the average client is going to spend maybe $55, $60 for a blowout, and I know that's expensive. It might be lower than that. But with haircuts, if you can say to someone, wow, I just cut your hair and it's going to look just like this, just use the right products, use a little texture spray at the roots, use a little dark oil in the ends, and your haircut's going to look like this for the next 6 weeks. That's how you can elevate your prices, and that's what it's all about. So I want to thank you, Shay, for sharing all these incredible techniques. Let's see the big reveal. I know
for sure. Let me take this one off.
You got a lot of layers on.
I know.
It's like a Russian doll. Stand up for us here, Connie. Careful.
I just fix this.
Don't need to fall, right?
That's cool.
Give us a 360 here all the way around. Shay, do you want to recap your work?
Yeah, so basically, as you can see, it's just a very, very commercial, simple little look. Nice layers to create movement, to create a nice head shape, but still extended into the front. So instead of being something that was short and long in the back, we reversed that around and framed her face a little bit more, and then that nice big sexy fringe.
Awesome. Well, this was my first time working with Shay. I can cross that off my bucket list because he's such a legendary hairdresser. I always wanted to get close with him. So I'm happy. I know you guys enjoyed it. I want to thank Sebastian Professional for being a long-term sponsor of the Hairbrain community, one of our first from the very beginning, and we appreciate that. And we continue to bring you guys great education with incredible artists like Shay Dempsey. Peace out, everyone.
Peace.